Standing at Mount Olympus. DMX at Woodstock 99. 2,000 people. And the performance that proved rappers could be rock stars. July 23, 1999. 7:45 p.m. Rome, New York. Former Griffiths Air Force Base. The sun was setting over the biggest clusterfuck in music festival history. Woodstock 99 was a complete disaster. Over 100 degrees on concrete with zero shade. Water $4 a bottle. Foods $12 for pizza. Toilets overflowed day 1. Never recovered. Sewage mixing with dirt and heat. Sexual assaults in crowds. Rosie Perez got heckled. I ain't showing y'all Sheryl Crow had feces thrown at her. Woodstock 69 had been peace and love on a farm. Woodstock 99 was supposed to recreate that magic. Michael Lang promoting. MTV covering. The Millennium send-off. Instead, corporate greed. Riots by Sunday. Fires. Looting. National Guard called. But on Friday evening, one man was about to create the only moment of transcendence in the disaster. 1 year earlier, DMX had released It's Dark and Hell is Hot. 251,000 first week. Number 1. 7 months later, Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood. 600,000 first week. Also number 1. First living artist in any genre with 2 number 1s same year. Hottest rapper on earth. 28 years old. Hungry. Unstoppable. Now he was about to walk onto a stage in front of 200,000 people. Most white. Most rock fans. Most waiting for Limp Bizkit and Metallica. Most had probably never bought a hip-hop album. DMX was about to change that. Backstage, Earl Simmons paced. Black tank top. Red mechanics overalls. Timberland boots. Simple chain. His DJ warming up the crowd. When I say DM you say X. DM. X. DM. X. The sound was deafening. 200,000 voices in unison. The ground vibrated. A sea of humanity. An ocean of bodies stretching endlessly. Heads upon heads disappearing into July evening haze. One journalist would later write, DMX stood at the musical equivalent of Mount Olympus's peak. Mount Olympus, where gods live. Where mortals cannot reach. Where only the greatest, most powerful, most transcendent get to stand. And DMX was about to climb it. Only 13 months after his debut album. 13 months from Columbia Records dropping him for Born Loser flop. 13 months from homelessness. Group homes. Beatings. Survival. 13 months from being unsigned and doubted. Now Mount Olympus. The stage manager signaled. DMX took a breath. Not nervous. Never nervous. But aware. Aware of the magnitude. This was one of those moments. The kind you tell grandchildren about. The kind that gets written about for decades. He wake out. The roar was biblical. 200,000 people screaming. Pure, raw, primal screaming. The kind that erases thought. Makes your chest vibrate. Reminds you how small one person is, and how powerful a crowd can be. But DMX wasn't small on that stage. He was 10 feet tall, stalking back and forth like a caged animal finally released. Arms spread, head back, taking it all in. The DJ hit Stop Being Greedy. The beat dropped. DMX attacked the mic. And 200,000 people, most who'd come for Korn and Kid Rock, started jumping. White kids in cargo shorts. Black kids in Timberlands. Latino kids in bandanas. Asian kids in metal t-shirts. Girls on boyfriend's shoulder. Dudes in mosh pits. Goths. Ravers. Punks. Metalheads. Hippies. All of them jumping to DMX. This was the crossover moment. Hip-hop proving it belonged on any stage. A rapper from Yonkers commanding a crowd. Historically allergic to rap. Cultural shift happening in real time. Rough Riders anthem came next. Stop, drop, shut 'em down. Open up shop. Whoa. No. That's how Rough Riders roll. 200,000 people rapped along. Every word. Not casual fans. Converts. Believers. People who'd bought the albums. Learned the lyrics. Made DMX their identity. And in the middle of the song, DMX paused. Looked out at the ocean of humanity. And barked. ARF. ARF. 200,000 people barked back. ARF. 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 The sound was inhuman. Animalistic. Beautiful. Terrifying. unifying. If aliens had been monitoring Earth, they would have heard 200,000 humans barking like dogs and assumed civilization collapsed. But this wasn't collapse. This was communion. This was tribe. DMX had spent his life feeling like an outcast, an animal, less than human. And here in front of 200,000 people, his bark was an anthem. His pain was power. His darkness lit up the night sky. Journalist Eli Ennis would later write for Consequence. Despite standing at Mount Olympus's peak, staring out at a near-endless sea of heads, DMX didn't look satisfied, grateful, yeah, excited, sure, but one gets the sense he knew he was just getting started. He'd only released his debut 1 year earlier, and was already standing where 99% of musicians could only dream of occupying, just getting started. 1 year into his career, already at Mount Olympus, and still hungry, still not satisfied. Still knowing there was more to prove, the performance continued for 45 electric minutes. Get at Me Dog, the song that introduced DMX to mainstream America. At Woodstock, in front of 200,000 people, it wasn't a single anymore, it was an anthem. People rapping every word. The hook, what y'all really want from me. The crowd screamed back, what do we want? This, exactly this. Then Slippin', his most vulnerable song, about his mother's abuse, and his struggles and his determination to keep going. The beat started. Slow, emotional, not a banger. This was confession, therapy. DMX at his most exposed. To live and die for the streets. I shed a tear for the shit I'd been through. 200,000 people went silent. Actually silent. In a festival that had been nothing but noise and chaos, DMX commanded silence with vulnerability. Rock audiences weren't used to this. The ability to go from 100 memeshias to complete stillness. I'm slipping, I'm falling. I can't get up. People were crying, tears running down dirt-covered faces. The song wasn't just about DMX's struggles. It was about their struggles. Everyone had fallen. Everyone had felt like they couldn't get back up. Everyone needed the reminder that you can. The song builds by the end. Determination kicks in. The refusal to stay down. When it ended, the crowd erupted. DMX had given them permission to be vulnerable and strong simultaneously. Showed them darkness doesn't have to win. Then right back into aggression. DMX understood pacing. After emotional catharsis, the crowd needed release, needed to move. Damien came next. The three-part narrative where DMX plays both himself and the devil. The storytelling was cinematic. The performance was theater. DMX switching voices, playing both parts. At one point he stopped. The devil is real, y'all. He talks to all of us. Question is, what do you say back? 200,000 people locked in. This was ministry, sermon, church disguised as hip-hop. Between songs, DMX talked to the crowd. Real conversation. Y'all still with me? The roar confirmed yes. I appreciate y'all. He meant it. He'd bark, ARF, ARF, and 200,000 barked back like trained wolves. At one point DMX stopped everything. Music stopped. He walked to the front of the stage, looked out at the sea of humanity, just stood there for 10 seconds, absorbing it. The crowd started cheering, but he raised his hand for silence. 200,000 people went quiet. Then he spoke. I want to thank God for this moment, for y'all, for life, for music, for everything. He actually prayed, out loud, on stage, at a rock festival, thanked God for the opportunity, asked for blessings, mentioned people struggling, hurting, needing hope. 30 seconds. The crowd was silent, respectfully, genuinely silent. When he finished, the applause was different. It wasn't hype, it was reverence. DMX had turned a rock festival into a spiritual experience, reminded everyone underneath the chaos there was humanity. There were souls trying to connect to something bigger. Then immediately, another banger. No dwelling. The prayer was real, but so was the party. Both could coexist. What's My Name came late. By now the crowd was exhausted. But when DMX asked what's my name, they summoned energy from somewhere deep and screamed, DMX, DMX, DMX. The chant echoed across the abandoned Air Force Base. People a mile away could hear it. The finale was chaos, the good kind. Everyone jumping, screaming, losing their minds because they knew it was almost over, and wanted to give everything left. DMX dripping sweat, shirt clinging, veins visible from vocal exertion. But he never stopped moving, never stopped giving. For 45 minutes straight he was a machine, and then it was over. DMX threw his arms up. One final time. The crowd erupted. He walked off stage. The moment was done. The magic had happened. The proof was provided. What had just been proven, that rappers could be rock stars, that hip-hop belonged on the biggest stages, that a black man from Yonkers, with a criminal record and troubled past, and dark aggressive style could command a mostly white rock festival with the same power as Metallica, or Red Hot Chili Peppers. That authenticity transcends genre, that pain is universal, that when an artist is real, when every word comes from lived experience, when every bark is genuine emotion, when every prayer is sincere, genre doesn't matter, race doesn't matter. The music connects because the humanity is undeniable. The rest of Woodstock '99 collapsed into chaos. By Sunday night, riots, fires, looting, sexual assaults, property destruction, National Guard called in. Limp Bizkit's Fred Durst was blamed for inciting violence during break stuff. The promoters would be sued. The festival's reputation destroyed. The story of Woodstock '99 became about everything that went wrong. The corporate greed, the overpriced water, the broken toilets, the sexual assaults, the fires during Red Hot Chili Peppers' closing set on Sunday. MTV's coverage captured it all. The chaos, the anger, the violence. Woodstock '99 became shorthand for the dark side of late '90s culture. The end of whatever remained of '60s idealism. Proof that you couldn't recreate the magic of the original. That commerce had killed community. That something fundamental had broken in American culture. But DMX's 45 minutes, perfect, untouched by chaos, a beam of heavenly light in the middle of disaster. As one reviewer described it, what made it even more remarkable was the timing. DMX performed on Friday evening, July 23rd. The festival still had 2 more days to go. Saturday and Sunday would see the worst of the chaos. But on Friday DMX captured a moment before everything fell apart completely. He gave people 45 minutes where the music mattered more than the heat, more than the overpriced water, more than the broken toilet, where 200,000 people forgot their discomfort and just experienced something pure. Think about what that means. In the middle of one of the most hostile, uncomfortable, poorly planned festival environments in history, DMX created transcendence. He didn't need perfect conditions, didn't need a beautiful venue, didn't need shade, or comfortable seating, or reasonable food prices. He needed a microphone and 200,000 people willing to listen. And he turned that into magic. That's the mark of a true performer. Not someone who needs everything perfect to deliver, but someone who can create something perfect regardless of circumstances. Years later, when DMX died on April 9, 2021, the Woodstock '99 performance went viral. Clips circulated on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, over 5 million views. One of the most iconic performances ever. One of the greatest live hip-hop shows in history. Kirk Acevedo, the actor from Fringe, one of the greatest to ever do it. People who'd been there commented, "I was in that crowd, changed my life. I was a metalhead who'd never listened to rap, bought every DMX album after this." This is what live music is supposed to feel like. I've been to hundreds of concerts. This is still top 3 all time. The viral moment happened because people needed to be reminded. The news of DMX's death was tragic. Overdose, heart attack, life support, family saying goodbye. The obituaries focused on his struggles with addiction, his legal troubles, his personal demons. All true, all part of his story. But the Woodstock '99 clips reminded people of something else. At his peak, DMX was unstoppable. At his best, he was transcendent. At his most powerful, he could move mountains, or in this case 200,000 people. Why go viral 22 years later? Because people had forgotten, or never knew. The Woodstock '99 story became about riots and fires and assaults, everything negative, everything that went wrong. DMX's moment got buried in that narrative, but when he died, people remembered. Oh right, before everything fell apart, before the fires on Sunday night, before the riots and the National Guard, before all the bad, there was this. There was DMX at Mount Olympus. Proof that one artist, with nothing but his voice and his truth, could move 200,000 people. And it wasn't just nostalgia, It was recognition of something important. DMX at Woodstock '99 wrote the blueprint for every aggressive hip-hop artist who came after. The Guardian wrote in August 2020, "This performance immortalizes a moment when DMX was the hottest rapper on the planet, a liberator who came to free mainstream rap from its excesses with songs fully immersed in the struggle of being young, poor and black." DMX's set proved rappers could be rock stars too, writing the blueprint for the punk rap theatrics of a new generation that included Denzel Curry, Slowthai, Rico Nasty, Bob Vylan, XXXTentacion, Tekashi 699 and JPEG Mafia. Each has cited DMX as a major influence. Read that again. DMX created the blueprint, not influenced, not inspired, created. The entire aesthetic of aggressive punk-influenced, mosh pit-friendly hip-hop that would dominate in the 2010s and 2020s. DMX did it first, in 1999, in front of 200,000 rock fans, and proved it worked. Denzel Curry, whose concerts are famous for pits and crowd surfing and stage diving, came directly from DMX's Woodstock template. The idea that a rapper could command a pit the way a metal band could. DMX proved it. XXXTentacion's combination of aggressive energy and emotional vulnerability. DMX showed that mixture worked, performed Slippin' right after Rough Riders' anthem, proved you could make people cry and make them mosh in the same set. Slowthai's punk rap aesthetic. DMX proved rappers could command rock crowds 20 years earlier. Rico Nasty's mosh pit anthem. DMX created the blueprint at Woodstock. Tekashi 699's aggressive festival presence. He's doing a lower quality version of what DMX did. Every rapper who walks on stage with aggressive energy, commands a diverse crowd, makes rock fans mosh to hip-hop. They're following the path DMX paved at Woodstock '99. Some know it, some don't. But whether they acknowledge it or not, DMX created the template. But DMX didn't know he was creating a blueprint. He was just being himself. He wasn't trying to appeal to rock crowds, wasn't trying to cross over, wasn't trying to be the hip-hop artist rock fans can like. He was just being DMX. Raw, honest, dark, aggressive, vulnerable, real. And that's why it worked. Because authenticity can't be faked. Audiences smell bullshit from a mile away. They know when an artist is pandering. They know when someone is trying too hard. But when an artist steps on stage and is purely, completely themselves, no compromise, no apology, no adjustment for the audience, that's when magic happens. DMX didn't adjust for Woodstock's rock crowd. He gave them exactly what he gave every crowd, everything he had. The bark, the growl, the prayers, the pain, the darkness, the light, the complexity, all of it. Take it or leave it. This is who I am. And 200,000 people took it, embraced it, made it part of themselves. The performance became especially poignant understanding where DMX came from. This wasn't a kid who grew up privileged and stumbled into rap stardom. This was a man beaten by his mother so severely he lost teeth, kicked out of school in 5th grade, lived in group homes and on street, robbed and stole to survive, prison multiple times before age 20, rejected by Columbia Records in 1993. Born loser flopped. They dropped him. Years grinding underground. Told he was too dark, too aggressive, too street to ever make it mainstream. And there he was, on the biggest festival stage in America, in front of 200,000 people, being himself, being celebrated for being himself, being paid to be himself, getting a standing ovation for all the qualities that record labels had told him to hide or change. That's the American dream, not the sanitized version, the real one, the version where somebody with every reason to fail, every disadvantage, every trauma, every obstacle, refuses to quit, stays authentic, works harder than everyone else and climbs Mount Olympus anyway. DMX at Woodstock '99 was the American dream in 45 minutes. It was also the hip-hop dream, because in July 1999, hip-hop was still fighting for mainstream legitimacy in certain spaces. Yes, the genre was selling millions of albums. Yes, Jay-Z and Puffy and Master P were household names. But rap was still categorized as urban music, still segregated on radio, still considered niche in certain circles, even though it was outselling rock. Rock festivals were still rock festivals. White spaces, guitar space. Rappers who appeared at rock festivals were often treated as novelties or diversity bookings. The assumption was that rock fans wouldn't really vibe with hip-hop. They'd tolerate it, be polite, wait for the real music, the guitars and drums to start. DMX shattered that assumption, not just because the crowd vibed, not just because they tolerated it, because they lost their minds. 200,000 rock fans jumped and moshed and barked and rapped along like their lives depended on it, like they'd been waiting their whole lives for DMX, even if they didn't know it, until that moment. After Woodstock '99, the conversation changed. Rappers started getting booked at major rock festivals, not as diversity checkboxes, but as legitimate headliners. Coachella would eventually have hip-hop headliners. Bonnaroo, Lollapalooza, Reading and Leeds. In the UK, rock festivals realized hip-hop could headline and fans would show up, would buy tickets, would have the time of their lives. That was DMX's legacy from Woodstock '99. He kicked the door open, proved it was possible, created the template. Think about who appeared at Woodstock '99. Korn, Limp Bizkit, Metallica, Kid Rock, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Rage Against the Machine, Alanis Morissette, Sheryl Crow, Bush, Creed, The Offspring, Dave Matthews Band, rock royalty, multi-platinum sellers, arena-filling acts, generation-defining band. These were the acts that defined late 90s mainstream music. These were the headliners people paid $150+ to see. And DMX, 1 year into his major label career, held his own, more than held his own. By many accounts, including those from journalists, who covered the entire 4-day festival, DMX's set was the best performance of the entire event. The one moment where everything, the music, the crowd, the energy, the atmosphere aligned perfectly. The one set where Woodstock '99 briefly lived up to its promise, before collapsing into disaster. The Associated Press praised DMX's performance. MTV, which covered the festival extensively, featured his set prominently in their broadcasts. Reviews were glowing. Critics who'd panned other aspects of the festival singled out DMX as a bright spot, a revelation, proof that the festival could have been something special if everything else hadn't fallen apart. And when DMX walked off that stage on Friday evening, he'd proven something that couldn't be disputed. Hip-hop was not a subculture anymore. Hip-hop was not a niche genre. Hip-hop was the culture, and rappers were not novelties at rock festivals. Rappers were rock stars, could command the same stages, the same crowds, the same respect as any guitar band. Later that year, December 1999, DMX would release, And Then There Was X, third album in less than 2 years. It would debut at #1 on the Billboard 200. His third consecutive #1 date, 98,000 copies sold in the first week. His biggest opening week yet, Party Up Up in Here, would become his most successful single, a crossover smash that played everywhere. Suburban soccer moms knew the hook, sports arenas used it for pump-up music. The song transcended hip-hop and became part of the broader American soundscape. The album would eventually go 5 times platinum, over 5 million copies sold, but that success was built on momentum, from moments like Woodstock, because that performance showed the world, showed skeptics, showed rock fans, showed industry executives, showed everyone that DMX could command any audience, put him in front of anybody. Rock fans, hip-hop heads, country music lovers, classical music snobs, didn't matter, and he'd win them over. Because the music was undeniable, the energy was undeniable, the authenticity was undeniable, the humanity was undeniable. Skip ahead to DMX releases Grand Champ, his 5th studio album. It debuts at #1 on the Billboard 200, his 5th consecutive #1 debut, 5 straight, from 1998 to 2003. 5 albums, 5 #1s, no skips, no misses, no sophomore slumps, no commercial declines, just dominant. First rapper in history to accomplish this, still the only rapper in history. Jay-Z didn't do it, Eminem didn't do it, Lil Wayne didn't do it, Drake hasn't done it, only DMX. That streak started with It's Dark and Hell Is Hot, in May. But Woodstock '99, that 45-minute performance in front of 2,000 people in July 1999, was the moment where it became undeniable to everyone. The moment where even the skeptics, even the doubters, even the people who'd said hip-hop couldn't headline rock festivals, had to admit, this isn't a fluke, this isn't hype, this isn't a moment, this is greatness, this is history, this is an artist, operating at a level most never reached. 2,000 people witnessed it live, millions more saw it on MTV's broadcasts, pay-per-view viewers watched it, and decades later, 5 million plus people watched the clips online and realized, that's why DMX was legendary, that's why his name still resonates, that's why even years after his death, people talk about him with reverence. But let's talk about what happened during that performance that made it so special. Because it wasn't just that the crowd was big crowds happen. Woodstock '99 had 220,000 attendees total over 4 days. Lots of artists performed for portions of that crowd, but DMX's set was different, fundamentally different. Here's why. First, the energy was relentless. For 45 minutes straight, DMX never stopped moving, never slowed down, never conserved energy, stalking the stage like a caged animal finally released, arms waving, jumping, engaging with every section of the crowd. He didn't stand still behind a mic stand, didn't phone it in, didn't save anything for later. He gave everything, every single second, every single moment. The physical stamina required for that performing at that intensity in 100-degree heat on concrete is insane. Most artists pace themselves for long sets, build to a climax, have valleys and peaks. DMX, he was peak for 45 minutes, sprinting when everyone else would have been walking. That's not just talent, that's dedication, that's commitment, that's love for the craft and respect for the audience. Second, the emotional range. Right in the middle of the set, after getting the crowd hyped with bangers, he performed Slippin', his most emotional, vulnerable song, about his childhood trauma, about his mother beating him, about group homes and survival, and falling down, and getting back up. And the crowd, this massive rock festival crowd that had been jumping and moshing seconds earlier, went silent, actually silent. 200,000 people stood still and listened, really listened. Some people crying, tears running down dirt-covered faces. This wasn't a pit song. This was church. This was confession. This was therapy. DMX turned a field of 200,000 people into a congregation, made them feel every word, made them understand his pain, made them see their own struggles reflected in his story. And then right after Slippin', he went back into aggressive bangers, from vulnerability to aggression, and back. That range, that ability to make you cry and then immediately make you mosh, is what made him special. Most artists can do one or the other. DMX could do both, in the same set, in the same breath. Third, the call and response mastery. DMX was a master at engaging crowds, making them participants rather than spectators. The DMX chant was the obvious example, but he also had moments where he'd stop the music completely, say something raw and real directly to the crowd, and they'd roar in response. He made 200,000 people feel like he was talking directly to each of them individually. That's a rare gift. Most artists can connect with 500 people in a club. Some can connect with 5,000 in an arena. Very few, maybe a handful in history, can genuinely connect with 200,000 people in an open field, can make each person feel seen, feel heard, feel like they matter. DMX could. That's not technique. That's not something you learn. That's something you are. Either you have that connection ability or you don't. DMX had it in abundance. Fourth, the absolute authenticity. This cannot be overstated. Everything about DMX's performance was real. He wore red mechanics overalls and Timberland boots, not a costume designed by stylists. That's literally what he wore. That was his style. He barked a arf, arf, not as a manufactured gimmick to stand out, because that came naturally to him, because that's how he expressed himself. He prayed on stage, stopped the music, thanked God, asked for blessings, not for the cameras, not for publicity, because he was genuinely spiritual, because he needed to do that in that moment. Everything he did on stage was an extension of who he was, and people felt that.
You can't fake that level of authenticity. Audiences can sense when someone's performing versus when someone's just being themselves. They smell bullshit from a mile away, and they respond to genuine. DMX was as genuine as it gets. Fifth, the diversity of the crowd, and the unity he created. Look at footage from that performance. Look at the crowd shots. Every ethnicity, every style, every subculture. Metalheads in Slayer shirts, next to hip-hop heads, in Timberlands. Goths, in black next to preps, in khakis. White kids next to black kids next to Latino kids next to Asian kids. Young people, older people, men, women, all of them moving together, all of them connected by the music, all of them united in that moment. That's powerful, that's rare, that's proof that music, when it's real enough, when it's good enough, when it comes from a genuine place, transcends everything, transcends race, transcends class, transcends background, transcends genre. All the things that usually divide people didn't matter in that moment. Only the music mattered, only the connection mattered. DMX created that, with his voice and his presence, and his truth. After the performance, backstage, DMX was exhausted, drenched in sweat, but also energized. That's the paradox of great performances. They drain you and fill you up simultaneously. Someone asked how it felt. He said something like, "I did what I always do. I gave them me, all of me. That's all I can do. All of me." That was DMX's philosophy. Not the radio-friendly version, not the watered-down version. All of me. The darkness, the light, the pain, the joy, the aggression, the vulnerability, everything. And at Woodstock 99, all of me was enough, more than enough. It was transcendent. The irony is, Woodstock 99 was supposed to be about peace and love. That's what promoters wanted, what they marketed. Instead, it became a cautionary tale about corporate greed, poor planning, toxic masculinity, remembered as a disaster, the darkest moment in festival history, the end of 90s idealism. But for 45 minutes on Friday night, it wasn't a disaster. It was perfect. It was what festivals are supposed to be. An artist at peak powers, a crowd hungry for that energy, a connection transcending everything else. And that magic was created by a kid from Yonkers who'd been beaten, rejected, imprisoned, doubted, who clawed to Mount Olympus with raw talent and relentless hunger, who stood in front of 200,000 people and said, "This is who I am, take it or leave it." And 200,000 people took it, embraced it, made it legendary. 22 years later, when the clips went viral after his death, the comments were unanimous. This is one of the greatest live performances in hip-hop history. DMX was a once-in-a-generation performer. The energy is insane. Look at that crowd. He had them moving. This is what real hip-hop looks like. They don't make artists like this anymore, because DMX was unreplicable. You can study his style, copy his bark, imitate his energy, but you can't replicate his authenticity. You can't fake a lifetime of pain channeled into music. You can't manufacture the realness from genuine struggle. You can't create the connection he had unless you've lived what he lived. DMX at Woodstock 99 wasn't just a great performance, it was proof of concept. Proof hip-hop belonged on the biggest stages. Proof rappers could be rock stars.
Proof authenticity wins. Proof one person with a microphone and a message can move 200,000 people. Standing at Mount Olympus's peak, 1 year into his career, just getting started, and absolutely unstoppable.